You ever find yourself lying in bed staring at your phone, scrolling endlessly through random videos and thinking, what am I even doing with my life? What if I told you that the time you spend aimlessly scrolling could be used to create something cool? Something that's not only fun, but also leaves you feeling proud and accomplished. I know what you're thinking. Sounds great, but where do I even start? Don't worry, I've got you. Let's get real for a second. Starting something new is scary, right? All these doubts creep in. What if I'm not good at it? What if people laugh? What if I fail? But every person you look up to, every creator who inspires you, felt the same way when they started. The difference is they push through it, and that's what I want you to do. Just start. Because when you do, it's not just about the project you're working on, it's about how it changes you. You become more confident, more disciplined, and surprisingly, even happier. There's something incredibly satisfying about creating something that didn't exist before, something that's yours. Think about the last time you accomplished something, no matter how small it was. Maybe you cleaned your room after procrastinating for days, or finally finished a book you'd been meaning to read. Remember that little buzz of pride you felt afterward? Now multiply that feeling by 10, because creating something cool is next level rewarding. And the best part is, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it won't be perfect, especially not at first, but that's okay. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to start. I know. Starting feels like the hardest part. It's like staring at a blank canvas and you have no idea what to paint. But here's a simple trick. Start with something small. Don't overwhelm yourself by thinking you need to create a masterpiece on your first try. Let's say you're interested in baking but have no idea where to begin. Don't try to bake a 3-tier wedding cake on your first attempt. Start with cookies. They might turn out a little burnt or misshapen, but guess what? You've already accomplished more than most people who never even try. Once you've decided to start, you'll notice another roadblock: time. How often do you say, I'd love to start a project, but I don't have time? Here's the truth. It's not about time, it's about priorities. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. If you're spending 2 hours a day on social media, you have time. If you're binge watching another Netflix series, you have time. The real question is, what are you willing to swap out to make room for your project? Even 30 minutes a day is enough to get the ball rolling. Trust me, those small efforts will add up before you know it. Now, let's talk about picking the right project, because that's another thing that trips people up. You don't need to have some grand vision right away. Just start with something that excites you, or something you've always been curious about. It could be tech, like learning to code or building a simple app. Or maybe you're into crafts, like DIY home decor or woodworking. It could be something creative, like drawing, painting, or even filming videos. The options are endless. And remember, the first project doesn't have to define you forever. It's just a starting point to build your skills and confidence. Speaking of skills, let's address the elephant in the room. But I'm not good at anything. Really, this is the most common excuse, and let me tell you, it's nonsense. Nobody is born knowing how to bake, code, paint, or film. Every expert was a beginner once. The secret is to learn as you go. There's no shame in watching YouTube tutorials or reading beginner guides. It's never been easier to teach yourself new skills. The more you practice, the better you'll get. And yes, you'll make mistakes along the way, but mistakes aren't failures, they're lessons. Every time you mess up, you're one step closer to getting it right. Now, here's where most people get stuck. They overthink. You start imagining this perfect end result, and it feels so far out of reach that you don't even take the first step. This is called analysis paralysis, and it's the #1 dream killer. The solution is, just start. Use what you have, where you are. Don't wait for the perfect tools, the perfect time, or the perfect mood. Perfection isn't the goal, progress is. Start messy and you can polish it later. Once you've made progress, there's one step that's going to feel uncomfortable but is absolutely necessary. Share your work. Whether it's showing your friend, posting on Instagram, or uploading to YouTube, sharing your project does 2 things. First, it keeps you accountable. When people know you're working on something, you'll be less likely to quit. Second, it opens the door to feedback, which helps you improve. And no, not everyone will love what you create, and that's okay. If you're creating for validation, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Create because it makes you happy and because it pushes you to grow. Motivation will come and go. You're not always going to feel like working on your project. That's normal. What matters is consistency. Even on days when you don't feel like it, just put in a little effort. 15 minutes is better than nothing. Over time, those small, consistent actions will turn into something big. It's like building a house brick by brick. Each small action might not look like much on its own, but when you step back, you'll see the bigger picture. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting. Stop scrolling. Stop making excuses. Pick something, anything that excites you, and just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be good. It just has to exist. Because 6 months from now, you're either going to look back and say, I wish I had started, or you're going to look at what you've created and say, I can't believe I made that. The choice is yours. Let's make it happen.